ready?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Actually.
All right, good. Well, welcome to another episode of AY After Hours. For those of you watching, what you'll see one thing is that it's not with Doug and Kelly. Today we have a special guest host, Scott Knapp. Scott, would you give us a little bit of background as far as what you do at AY McDonald?
Thanks, Doug. Yes, you're right. I am definitely not Kelly.
Yes.
Yeah. So
she's enjoying some Mai Tais down in Cancun or Jamaica or something like that.
absolutely. So you're getting the B team today.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
my name's Scott Knapp, and I'm Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer for AY McDonald. I've been with the company for 23 years. Most of my career has been spent in the sales marketing side of the business, and I spend a lot of my time currently with the product management team, Doug's team, and he's nodding like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, lots of time.
And with Justin with the marketing group, and certainly with the innovation groups, where I spend a lot of my time in the manufacturing company. So
Good. One of the things that you'll notice too is that we're not on our regular set. We're actually on site at a WASDA event in Chicago, Illinois, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But I wanted to introduce first off Nate Peirce and Greg Velz. So Nate, give us a little bit of background as far as just kind of what you do, where you're from, that sort of thing.
I'm Nate Peirce. I work with HR Prescott and Sons, a small independent distributor in eastern Massachusetts. Interestingly enough, we're a 100-year-old company and recently celebrated that milestone, and a customer of AY McDonald, which is, of course, post 150 years, I think, Scott?
166.
166, so it's been 16 years, yeah. So I do everything. We have a small operation, so I wear many hats, from sales to logistics to purchase orders and things like that. I'm also currently enjoying giving back to the waterworks industry by my role as president of WASDA, the Water and Sewer Distributors of America. And yes, we're in Chicago collectively with a group of WASDA members to better our industry and look forward-thinking how we can improve things for all of us, vendors and customers, in the future.
Good. And Greg Velz, give us a little bit of background about you.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. Appreciate that a lot. AY McDonald putting this together for us. We are, Nate said it, part of a WASDA organization in his meeting here today, but I work for Fort Line Waterworks. I'm the VP of sourcing for Fort Line. I've been with the company 20 years. I got about a 40-year plus industry background with me. Kind of chose this career when I was young. Been working with the company for quite some time now. We've changed and evolved, but we're all here for one thing, and that's just to make water better and try to make water safe for every consumer in the United States, everybody involved. We overlook what our greatest natural resource we have in this country every day, our lives, water. And I think that the WASDA organization brings that to the front in conversations. It also brings out the groups that are involved in this industry, which is along manufacturers, along with associate members, which we call them, also distributors. There's all kinds of supply houses across the country that do one thing, and that's try to make water better for this country. And really, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through this podcast, but really it's one of those unspoken things we have out there that we need to bring more attention to this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thinking about when we were last together in February at the annual meeting, Greg, you were up giving an update relative to what's going on in Washington, D.C. with water infrastructure, and I think that was the sort of the impetus behind maybe putting this podcast together, because it's when we were together at the meeting, we were discussing WASDA itself, the membership, and growing the membership, and what can we do. And I thought about our podcast and said, one of the things we like to do is highlight all the wonderful things going on in the industry, all the wonderful people in the industry, and what a great opportunity just to get you both together,
right,
and really talk about what WASDA is and what WASDA does. So I guess you can pick who answers the question, but maybe Nate, do you want to just talk a little bit about what WASDA is, and maybe a little bit about why you choose to be involved with WASDA?
Well, it's exactly what you said. I mean, WASDA is an association. It's primarily a distributor-run organization, but the vendors or associates are an integral part of the piece of the puzzle. I mean, the simple fact that a company like AY McDonald wants to take this opportunity to promote a collective group of people in the industry speaks volumes for how we get together. But the quick sort of summary is, distributors like ourselves will get together in the fall at WASDA Forum and we'll conduct business. How are things going? How's your sales? These are some new products, what have you. A lot of work behind curtains in a ballroom, just getting things done, right? And then we have a nice get-together in the spring called the Annual, where we focus a little bit more on furthering our education. We'll bring in keynote speakers. We'll bring in pro athletes who've, motivational. We will discuss things like scholarships. We have a scholarship, Matt Steger scholarship, as well as a WASDA scholarship. Promoting our industry, promoting the next generation, trying to get them involved and giving them back, money to further their education. Many facets of that. But when you ask the question, what is WASDA? I mean, WASDA, I don't want to make light of it, but it's really, for me now, it's friends getting together and conducting business. I mean, when I first entered WASDA, my brother and I are both in the industry. He's 8 years older than I am. So he sort of brought me in and I started to come to the events. And then you get to meet people like you, Scott Knapp. So Scott Knapp is, no secret, a high up, owner of A.Y. McDonald. And that translates to somebody like me who's, on the front line selling to our customers. We buy your product, we then sell it to our customers. And if our customers have questions or concerns or how-tos, I can answer those questions because I'm knowledgeable in your product line. But also, I mean, it gives us strength in the terms of like, listen, I can text the owner of the company right now and ask him your specific question because you get all kinds of questions. I won't use any examples, but that line, the throughput right here to the customer, let's just pretend Greg's the customer, is very strong. So it's not like, I don't want to say a big box store, what have you. Like, you don't know, like, this box of cereal, how did this come to be, right? I've been on the factory floor or foundry floor. I've seen the hard work that your employees put into the product. And I can translate that to, you've got a quality thing here that's going in the ground and your customer's going to be satisfied and it's going to work for years and years. It'll outlast you. So I could go on, but basically it's the connection. So WASDA is the connection, but then as you become immersed in the business part of it, you become friends with people. Yeah. And I mean, I won't go into specifics, but I know how Scott spends his free time, and there's a lot of, similarities in that, and we discuss.
You make it sound like there's something wrong with what I do.
Well, like, what size is the engine on your on your boat? Are we talking a 2 horsepower, crappy fishing, or are we going in this offshore. Gentleman over here? Are we going offshore in a 52-foot Hatteras? Yeah. We all are similar. We spend time with our families and we enjoy life, and I think that answers your question. I could go on, but it's a comfort thing, and you're doing business, and it just all kind of comes together. So.
Yeah, and I think what we need to understand is, WASDA stands for Water Sewer Distributors of America. That's what we are. We are the distributors out there selling the waterworks products across this country. This association has all kinds of size of distributors, from small to large distributors a part of. And there's a common goal among all of us to try to do what we need to do to take care of our end user. That's the customer, so basically the citizens of the United States. So really the distributor part of it is basically the middleman between the end user and the manufacturer. We work together to try to get what we need to, and a lot of us are involved in a lot of different associations that has to do with water industry. So we're always there teaching and trying to explore new possibilities to help municipalities, to help cities, to help government agencies to do a better job at what they're planning in the future coming forward, which is, from our knowledge of industry, from trial and error, making mistakes and learning the hard way, to where we need to go, because modern technology is growing so greatly in this industry, and new products are coming out that's going to help finding leaks and problems with leaks and detections. A lot of problems we have with leakage right now is just a huge amount of waste that we have. I mean, we basically lose in the neighborhood of 6 billion gallons of water a day. Now, no one understands what 6 billion gallons of water is, but look at your water bill and think how much you use a month.
Right.
We're talking 6 billion gallons a day. That's 2.19 trillion gallons that we lose in a year in this country. And that is never to be recovered again.
Right.
Then there's where we're trying to educate everybody, okay, these are better products you can use to stop that, to help you with your usage, help you with your loss, to prevent those problems. We all see these giant line breaks. And we have these giant line breaks. Most of being distributors, we're involved in our local communities when those happen, and we go out there to try to help them on the repairs, make sure where they're there to work hand in hand with the municipalities and the people are fixing those lines. Because most of the times there may be a private contractor that's involved that has the night job of being on duty in case something like that happens. Well, we're there to help out 24/7. So we're really there being responsible for basically the holders of what we need to do is trying to help them make a better water systems out of them.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're involved with a lot of different organizations out there because it's part of it all does it together. We're very strong with the National Utility Contractor Association, NUCA, just to make sure that we're involved with them because those are our customers. They're also involved in this business. Government agencies, rural waters, all these things that we're involved in, besides just the WASDA part, because it all works together as part of a better America. So like I said, it stands for Water and Sewer Distributors of America, and that's what we are.
Well, it's fun when we get together
Oh, yeah.
because we're all passionate about the industry that we serve, and we all see the challenges that we face. To your point, 2-something billion gallons of water a day
6 billion.
being wasted,
Yeah.
and on top of that, you talk about infrastructure and spending on infrastructure. And I get asked the question a lot, well, so is this new infrastructure bill, is that going to have a huge impact on your company at A1 McDonald? My answer is usually, you know what? We really don't see the impact because when you look at the spend when it comes to infrastructure,
Yeah.
there's a teeny tiny little amount that goes towards water.
Right.
And that's because everything that we do is buried underground.
Right.
Nobody sees it, and when they open the faucet, they just expect water to be there.
Right.
And what I really enjoy about WASDA, we're associate members as a manufacturer, so we get the opportunity to spend time with distributors, and it's just a great way for us to spend time with all of our distribution customers and talk about the thing that we're so passionate about, which is this industry.
You brought up a very good point. America loves to drive down the highways of America and see bridges and roads being paved and new structures being built and, welcome to our cities and all the other things. They just don't really think about what's below ground. And there's a very key point that there's been a lot of illustrations that if you took what's below ground and put it up in the air on the sidewalks of America, most people would not walk underneath them just by looking how much decay, how much deterioration is, the amount of leakage is going on. They just wouldn't walk underneath them. But yet being below ground, it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And that's what the problem with the federal government right now, the spending that we do. As you said, they use money, allotments for the infrastructure, but yet they take it away and use it for everything else. Our percentage at one time was 67% of the monies that were spent for infrastructure bills went to infrastructure. Now it's 9%. We're the only part of government that's going backwards on the spending and what's really being used for what it needs to be used for. And we're so far behind in the funding that it is just unbelievable, and we'll never catch up. You're talking billions of dollars in this infrastructure package, and it's just the beginning of the phase. We can talk about money spent. The more time that we get the money out of the federal government hands back in state revolving funds is more important to every state involved here because every state knows what they need. Every state knows what the requirements are. We don't want the federal government talking about what it is. State revolving funds are great because once the money's in there, it keeps revolving. They can reuse it again. They collect off the bonds and when they mature, so they make more money back again, reinvest back in their states. And that's why the SRF funds are very important for all of us to work with because it is the way that we're going to keep this community growing. And like I said, it's very sad to see the way the money is spent and what we're doing. However, for the first time ever, and I don't know how long we actually have funds and they're going forward. Now, we're working on something starting out with, yes, but we got to make sure that legislation knows what we need and where we need to direct that money and how we direct that money. Because everybody in Washington has what? Their hands out, right?
Yep.
From the hairdressers of America, the morticians of America, they're all there. So why aren't we there every day doing the same thing? Because we're working with what is really important to this country. So it's a very important fact. It's a good point, but like I said, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
It works. You said the faucet turns on, water goes.
Well, even more important, I mean, you say out of sight, out of mind. Our biggest thing would be you go to a fire hydrant and you try to get water out of that to get a burning building, squashed. I mean, we've had bridges fail, we've roads, potholes. People get upset about that, but we fly under the radar. People don't really pay that much attention, and it takes a major sort of event to happen to sort of shift a little bit of focus to us.
Absolutely.
And I don't know that we're self-promoters. We're not an industry of people who self-promote, but in many ways we should, because things are coming at us fast. I mean,
Right.
you look at the low levels of Lake Mead and what have you, and things like that, and the waste of water that you mentioned. Do we need a big event? I hope not, to just have somebody in Washington pay attention to us and say they need a little bit more earmarked for that repair, that
Right.
infrastructure bill.
Well, if you look at what's happening right now in this country, you're hearing more about line breaks all the time. The alarming rate right now is 11% of our water supply lines in the United States are over 100 years old.
Right.
Life expectancy on those pipes when they were put in years ago was maybe 25 years. So we've outlived the longevity of that pipe system by far. We're just hoping that nothing bad happens. You and I discussed today that, hey, we'll put generators at hospitals, we'll put all kinds of power plants to keep our companies going, but who puts water storage on our facilities? Right. When a line breaks and your hospital goes down, that means you have no ability for fire security, no ability for water, no ability for any of those things that uses water every day. It's done until it gets fixed. And I mean, the line breaks you see, how many millions of gallons are lost on those line breaks of large sizes? And they're not all small sizes anymore. There's an estimated 262,000 line breaks that happen across the United States on an annual basis. That number keeps growing.
Yep.
Growing all the time. And those mains are no longer just talking about 4-inch mains, and they only look at 4 inch and above. So it's all drastic news on this thing. And like I said, when you have a line break, roads get wiped out, bridges get taken down, buildings are in trouble, everything's in trouble. The whole thing is in a mess.
That's sinkhole.
But it's all below ground, so we don't really look at it.
Well, and it's the thing that you talked about earlier, as far as I'll call it a promotion as far as October 20th. You just mentioned, if you can give a little bit of background as far as what October 20th, Day Without Water.
Yeah, the thing is it's called Imagine a Day Without Water. It happens every year, October the 20th. And what it does is tries to bring America to the understanding that what do we use water for?
Right.
What would happen if we don't have water? So the whole thought concept about Imagine a Day Without Water is that you turn around and for one day you don't try to use water. Or if you do, you think about, well, wait a minute, that's made of water. Water works with this, water works with that. And there's not a thing that we do as a consumer across this country that doesn't have involved water. From taking a shower when you first get going to brushing your teeth, going to the door, getting your coffee, doing all the things all through the course of a day. Your car has to have water for to cool the systems. Water's involved with everything, and it's just trying to bring an awareness about it. So it's really great. Go on a website, look it up, be a part of it. They're listed, and individuals can do this. Schools do it. A lot of people do it, just to try to imagine a day. And most of it's gone to other countries where maybe the water supply is not as good. Mm-hmm. We watch the water flow out of a faucet and we kind of question it. And then we turn around and we've gone to other countries where they don't even have water flowing out of faucets. They're bringing it in. And then you think about quality. And for the United States, the greatest country in the world, we take for granted just that the water's going to be there. Yeah. But we got to spend money on making sure it's there and the quality of the water for the safety of this country. And that's where we really look at.
Yeah. For someone who's not real familiar with our industry that might be tuning in and listening, this would sound really scary.
Yes.
Like we are on the verge of absolute.
If you don't think about it, it's like,
But I guess my point is, we've all been in this situation for most of our working careers.
Right.
And it's going to continue for a long time. We'll make it through. We will get better. But I think that one of the things that I really think about when we talk about all the challenges that are in front of us with water infrastructure is what a great industry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And what amazing opportunities there are for people who want to find their way into that industry.
Absolutely.
That's,
it's a great industry with really salt of the earth people who work hard. It sounds scary, but it's not, because of people like us in the room. The other great part is that it's innovative. There's new technologies that are solving problems. It's not, it's not just a dinosaur. It's your company. Other companies are asking the questions and improving things for people. There's a ton of innovation. So it's people, conducting business and making things happen. So it shouldn't be scary. That's
right.
I hate for that to be the takeaway.
Yeah, I don't either. And Nate, for you, you found your way into this industry growing up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Being a part of your family business.
Right.
You mentioned I'm part of the McDonald family. I'm fifth generation. AY was my great-great-grandfather. When I grew up, It really wasn't an expectation, but it was something that I looked at and said, this is a great business, this is a great industry, and I want to be a part of it. And it is. It's a wonderful industry to be in, and it's been around for a long time, and we're going to be in this business for hundreds of years, well beyond all of us.
Yeah.
And what's neat and interesting about what you guys are here doing today with WASDA is you're doing strategic planning, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
So you're really trying to think about what's your organization's role and what does the future look like?
Yeah, well, things have changed, with COVID and everything. What did we have? 2 years where we were remote. We didn't see each other. We didn't conduct business in person. We did virtual things. And sort of it's like a shift. And I sort of make a little bit of a correlation with, post-World War II, where you had this upheaval and, the everything changed and was turned around. And then out of it, new ideas and new ways to conduct business came up. And so what is WASDA? How is WASDA going to evolve? I don't think we're not a virtual association. It's a great tool, but I need to see you and talk about business and talk about our families and do things like that, or show you physically touch and feel things and say, like, this is a curb stop, but if you did this and engineered that, it would change. So WASDA coming out of COVID, we decided, the board of directors, which I work for in terms of the association, decided to get together and have a survey. We crafted a survey where we'd send it out to all the members of WASDA, and we got the feedback. What are we doing well? What do you like? What do you dislike? How should we change? What are the future challenges of the industry? We've already talked about some of them. Also, in this country, you see a lot of people consuming other people, and there's sort of I make the correlation that, if there's only one bank to go to, they can do whatever they want, right? And if they choose to be, high fees and no innovation, well, that's what you get, right? So that's a challenge for us, like any industry, a race to sort of be at the top. But is that a good thing for everyone? So we're here together. There's about 13 of us, and this afternoon we're going to look at these surveys and we're going to discuss sort of what has occurred, where we want to go, what are our challenges, and make some action points, a strategic plan, if you will, because if we don't, we just continue to operate the way that we always have, and that can be a good thing, but I don't think it's good enough for our industry. You don't operate that way at A.Y. McDonald. You don't say, we sell this cup and that's all we sell and that's it, we're good, right? You say, no, we want to have a different size cup and we want to have different things in the cup and so forth and so on.
Did I mention my role as Chief Strategy Officer? My job is to kind of help us look forward and think about the future.
Right.
And so it's an attractive thing. You mentioned sort of, one issue is attracting new people into the fold, and
younger people.
Younger people. I use the other example of when I first moved to my house. I've been in the house for 20 years. Our neighbor said, "What do you do for work?" And I said, "I sell water, sewer, and drainage."
Exciting.
Yeah.
Fire hydrants.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, I guess somebody has to."
Right.
So
Aren't you glad?
Yeah.
So I don't know about this generation now. I mean, your phone or your Palm Pilot or there's things that are much more attractive. But I think when you get into this industry, you find it's really a lot of fun because of associates, distributors, customers. Every day it's an enjoyable thing.
Yeah.
So
Nate was saying, we're all come together to write the next chapter for where we're going as far as the companies, where we're going as an organization to work with us. And like I said, without a group of people together working for a common cause, this thing would be just fragmented. It would just be terrible. We'd be going different directions. But as a common goal, we'll try to do what can we do? As Nate said, getting the younger people involved in this thing. Technology is coming along. Yeah. Now it's all app driven and all these other things that we're looking in the future for. Great products coming along, and those are what we're trying to get out there. And like I said, when you tell your neighbors something about what you do, usually it's always a pause because they're trying to figure out what to say next.
Right.
You know? So are you a plumber or what are you? Nothing wrong with plumbers, but they just don't understand the concept because we don't do a good job promoting this industry. Like I said, we start talking, it sounds almost terrifying. But it's really not being terrifying. We're just making you aware of situations that are out there that we need to address. And by the way, since you're a voter, guess who listens?
Yeah.
The guy in office.
Yep.
So you need to take that to your congressman, your representative, and say, hey, I need to be more involved, and you need to be more involved in this water infrastructure thing to really get this thing going. And I know I campaign on this. I'm the chair of the Industry Relation Committee. We go to Washington, and we'll be up there on, basically May the 23rd to 25th, this again, going to the Hill, which we're allowed to get up there this time and be able to speak to people in person, because we talked about the personalities involved. You build that rapport among your congressman, your representative, and you go up there because really, we are the experts when it comes to the water industry.
Right.
They do a lot of things up there. They got a lot of people very smart, but they need our guidance to try to educate them and try to guide them on what really is important in these legislations that they're putting together.
Yeah.
And they're making decisions. They're making decisions on so many things for the good of our country. We need to be out there in front talking about the good for water.
Yeah.
That's so you mentioned, it's not terrifying. I was just thinking the great thing about being a part of WASDA is when you're in it, you see the fabric, you see every sort of interaction that goes on. Whether you're a distributor and I'm a distributor, we don't directly compete against each other, but we are a resource for each other, right? And then I'm a customer of AY McDonald, and I'm not a customer of somebody similar to you, but yet I know those people, right? So you really can, you can see the whole landscape. And then, as Greg was saying, when that landscape and the power and the energy and the knowledge goes to Washington and educates your local representation and moves up the food chain, that's not a terrifying thing. That's saying there's a backbone there that you don't see, that is advocating for you, that is helping you, and you just can go about your business, take your shower, brush your teeth, and get on with your day, and you don't even have any idea that it's there, except for maybe a water bill that you have to pay
once a month. And then there's where I think you build that relationship with those people up there, because yes, we go several times a year to visit them, but it's funny how they call you during the course of the year to ask you questions. Hey, I'm looking at this bill legislation. What does this really mean? What do I need to look at? What I don't need to look at? What do I need to be involved with? Hey, by the way, would you come down to my local office? I'd like to have a couple people come in and talk to you. And we found a long time ago the aides really that work for our congressmen and senators and representatives, they basically are very knowledgeable about it because they're basically guiding them. So if you build that rapport with those aides that work with them, and they'll call you up and ask you those questions. You take them out on job sites. You show them what you're talking about, explain, explore. It's almost like a school field trip.
Right.
We're going to take Washington really out to see what the real world looks like,
Yeah.
and be a part of it. And they learn so much about that. They make wiser decisions when it comes to, hey, we really need to look at this, and hey, we really need to make sure it goes to this.
Yeah.
That's the problem right now. It's fragmented. It goes kind of a little bit everywhere. So we've got to be real careful about making sure it goes where it needs to go. And that's where that, like I said, we're all in this together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, we've been talking a lot about the big picture. Sometimes it's fun to talk about the small picture a little bit too, like the little incidents that happen and because
The ones we don't sometimes talk about.
water doesn't just show up
Nope.
without any challenges along the way. We have a lot of customers that visit us in Dubuque, and a lot of times we'll be sitting around, and I always like to ask the question, raise your hand if you've ever had to get up from the Thanksgiving Day table to go take care of, and every single person always raises their hand. And basically, if you work in this industry, part of your job is making sure that everyone else has the convenience of good, clean drinking water, and that no dirty water goes where it shouldn't go. And then we always get into the things like, okay, so do you have a good story? Like one of those stories where things didn't necessarily go exactly as they were planned. And we had the opportunity to have dinner last night with Greg, and so I'm going to ask this question kind of Quentin Tarantino style. Okay, so we're going to start with the name of the scene is Aqua Velva.
Yeah.
Okay. So Greg, you tell your story, and then we'll find out what Aqua Velva means.
Segue there. Listen, if you want to know about how many times we leave the table and our families, ask our wives.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they remember every event we've ever been to because it's always inconvenient. But we really are 24/7 hands-on. But the situation you're talking about, I got a call years ago, and I was a salesman for a certain contractor, and he said, "Hey, it's 10:45 at night. I got to have these parts. It's in Castleberry, Florida. We got a water main break. We've got all this stuff going on. Can you get in your shop and open it up? We need this right now. We got to get this repaired because on a major intersection, feeding all kinds of business will be open on Saturday morning." Friday night, like I said, we're sitting here. So I get up, go get what I need, come down there. next thing I know, from being just there, now I'm getting involved in the situation. I'm down in the hole with the contractor explaining, okay, I think we need to use this and do this. What turned into a normal water main break turned into something a little bit more elaborate. Okay?
All right.
What I didn't realize is that there's always been a separation between force mains and water mains, and there's a reason why there's a separation.
What's a force main?
Well, that's where basically your raw sewage from your pumping stations is being
Didn't want to ask.
sent to your treatment plants because it's already been through your sanitary system, gone into a lift station, and being forced
Right.
main.
Okay.
At high
It's
pressure.
basically sewage.
So this is sewage
This
under
is sewage.
pressure.
This is sewage under pressure. So the water
What
main,
could go wrong?
we're working on this water main, and I started getting this aroma smell of different products that's being used for force mains, and I'm realizing, and I'm telling the contractor, I don't think we actually have a water main break, but I think we also have a possible force main problem here. And of course, that sent alarm bells because you have water main leaking.
And this is while you are in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're up to our waist now.
Sure.
Water main, and then the aroma of basically your lift station, or what I would call your septic tank, starts
Okay.
coming
Yep.
into play, and then I realize it's getting more fragrant, and now this is rising, and then I realize it's overrunning the water main because they've actually kind of shutting the water main down, but they haven't really thought about the force main possibility. So as we're fixing one, we start realizing we've got to repair another and try to find out where that is. So by the time this incident was over with, I was about to shoulder height in a mixture of water and waste.
Okay.
Okay, so we got it fixed because I was about to say at this point, I'm calling Broken Arrow, we're getting out. And they were trying to shut the plants down all around because all the lift stations are pumping into this force main around. And so we got it slowed down enough that we could make the repair, got out. And the embarrassing part of the story is that we actually went behind a 7-Eleven and took a water, which I need water. They were very gracious in a Clorox bath.
Oh boy.
A Clorox bath behind a 7-Eleven. And threw our clothes away. Of course, had to go to one of our favorite, all-night stores were open to buy new clothes.
Oh, gosh.
So you go home because we didn't really prepare for this.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things you just get involved in that really, it's a story that no one really wants to talk much about after they hear it, but they all cringe because
And you were young, a lot younger than
Yeah, I was in my mid-20s at that time. I was single.
You were single, right?
Yes, yeah. So you don't really, I had this, I don't want to use the word aqua velva smell about me between the bleach and everything else. For quite some time, I couldn't get really off of me. I actually went and got my hair cut. I got and I got tested a couple of times. I'm pretty sure I had TB when I was over with. I just knew I had TB. So, like I said, but that's where you get involved. And you get your hands in the middle of it all, and then sometimes it just doesn't turn out quite the way you thought. But you can't abandon the situation because it's part of what we do.
You didn't get a date for a long time.
No,
I mean, that's
no,
really the bottom line here.
Really, the story is that's my whole life. It's the Aquavella situation. But, we've been involved in those things. But that was one of the horrifying things that you start off with a thought.
Yeah.
And it turns into a completely different event. And then you're in it. You got to stay with it
Yeah.
and fix it.
Yeah.
And what I think people don't understand though too is that I mean that's a great story but it happens more often.
Oh, sure.
Across
Than we
the
like to talk
country,
about.
right across the country than
Especially on a podcast.
people realize.
You never do that.
Well, there's people that have to deal with those kinds of situations
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
every single day, and they can be unpleasant when you're talking about waste. I mean, that's just the nature of it.
Yep.
But it can also be very dangerous.
Oh, very so.
You have on a daily basis, you have people that have to take precautions when they're opening up a ditch, going down into a ditch or a confined space. They have to make sure they're doing it safely, and it's kind of that fraternity of our industry, of the people that are frankly heroic, who work hard every single day to make sure that we have the convenience of clean drinking water.
And it's very true because if you look at it, what was compared to what we used in the 70s, 80s, now we're more basically a safety conscious organizations about it. We try to make the water safer. We try to make the job safer. So we spend more time and monies and efforts on making sure that those people that do that type of repairs or work on those type of situations are as safe as they possibly can be at all times, because they can't stop and wait for it to all go away. It doesn't ever go away. You got to fix it. You got to be safe about it. And you got to make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
Because, you don't want to do a repair knowing you're going to have to come back in a week and fix it again.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's got to be a permanent repair, a good fix, make sure it does well. So it's all about safety. And it's like I said, everything we do is about safety and trying to make sure that everybody's in the most safest position they can be in. But like you said, someone's got to do it because it has to be done and fixed. And it's not always the greatest moment in your life, I assure you.
Well, that's where some of the innovation comes, because you think about a coupling that has 6, 12 bolts, and you're out there in the middle of the night and it's pouring rain, or
Right.
in your instance, you're waist high or neck high in sewage, which good for you for sticking through that one.
Well, you're in it. You're in it. You can't get out of it. You're
Yeah.
done. It's bad.
But that's the innovation in terms of like, how can we build it better, quicker, faster, so you can
Right.
get back to the dinner table and get back to your family. And there's a correlation in terms of because we're in the industry, we hear those stories, and you think as you drive down the road and you see municipal workers, you give a little bit more distance, you slow a little bit, down more, because these guys are in the hole fixing
Right.
something that a whole street block, is impacting. So, and I think a lot of people don't think about that in terms of who's on the front line looking out for you.
Right. And you're talking about the innovation. Exactly true. We went from being 6, 12 volt, 15 bolts now to 2 bolts, maybe.
Right.
Different type of couplings that work in different situations. So it's about, hey, you get the same quality, if not better quality. Now you get just a compression setup. You get a restraint setup also. So basically it's a kind of a push-on compression fitting that has a locking mechanism in it, also with a 1-bolt system, so it helps the person that's working on it get it done quickly and safely, versus the old idea of just cranking around. Like I said, that's the innovative ideas and thinking how this industry is changing all the time to move forward in all their thought patterns of what makes this better and faster and makes it secure. Because like I said, you can put a coupling on the old style couplings, and it's just the idea that the pipe that was there holding it. Well, pipe moves. Ground settles, things happen. So if you can lock that system together where it is actually attached to that pipe and it's locked together so it's not moving,
Right.
that makes it a better connection, a better fit, that you don't have to go back and revisit that at a later point in time.
Well, it only has to last 100 years minimum.
Oh,
I mean, that's what we were just talking about.
Well, I think we've released it.
Yeah.
We're moving past that.
Hey, Doug Roush here. Thanks for watching part 1 of this episode. There is so much we talked about in this conversation that we had to split it up into 2 sections. See you next week for part 2.